they don't waste my time, but more importantly, I don't waste their time and then give them a big price at the bottom and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't afford that. Like they
Yeah.
know going before they ever talk to me, they know what they're getting into. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's really important. For me, that's important. Is like I don't like, when you rent a car and they're like, oh, do you need bumper to bumper coverage? And do you need this and you need that? And I don't like that. I just like things
Oh.
to be real straightforward.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with Grant Writing and Funding, and I'm super excited to have a Freelance Grant Writer Academy student on the call today, and that's Gwen Valentino, and she's with New Mexico Grant Writers, and she is amazing. She has her own agency now. She joined the Academy back in October 2023. And so you've been in it for several months, and it's really exciting to see all of the growth. I'm constantly seeing, because we have a place where people can submit their grant wins, and you're like, 1,000,000, 2,000,000, 500,000. I'm loving it. So I wanted to invite you on and be like, hey, what's your experience been with winning these grants inside the Academy, and what you specifically do in your business, and how many clients you've been able to secure now that you've been in the program. So we're going to talk about all those things, but welcome to the podcast, Gwen. So good to see you.
So much. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm super excited. I've been having a blast in the academy. I've like stretched myself further than I thought I could, and I still like see so much potential for growth.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So yeah, so let's talk about your business. So you're in New Mexico, you have a lot of background with like USDA grants, federal grants. It was funny because we were talking and you're like, yeah, federal grants are so easy, and foundation's like a new kind of area, right? So I
Oh,
love
God,
that.
scare me a little bit.
Yeah. It's like most people start the other way. So I love how you're like connecting it that way. But you also write grants for robotics, and you said that's something you're really passionate about. So can you talk about like what you focus on in your grant writing a bit?
For the robotics part of it, or just
Yeah. And in general, in your USDA, like who's your who? Yeah.
I typically write grants for cities, counties, villages, and like water associations. That's my main clients. And then I have a couple of clients that are smaller nonprofits just getting off the ground and trying to support them and building their foundations, make sure that they have all their paperwork. And one of the things I love in the academy is that you have the nonprofit wellness checklist.
Mm.
So I don't have to be like, oh, and now I need blah, blah, blah. Like I can just be like, I need your articles of incorporation. I need your bylaws. I need your board members. I can just spout it off to them, and it helps me stay on task and still sound really professional with them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you're like, here's the checklist.
Mhm.
Send me the things. Love it.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I love your experience too. Like as I was talking to you, I said, yeah, I looked on the back end because we have this great database, so you can see like as you win grants to enter it, and you're like up to 7.9 million. It's like, this is amazing. Love it.
And I
So
never really kept
congratulations.
track of my grants before because I'm just constantly into the next one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, sometimes the cities and the counties, they don't tell you if you win them. They
Right.
definitely tell you don't win them, but they don't always
Yep.
tell you you win them because they're like on to the next, most cities, one person is doing the job of two or three people. So, they're just constantly trying to play catch up too. So they don't really tell me too many times when they win them. So it's,
That's so interesting because it's true. Because I
Mhm.
mean, I've been a grant writer for a long time too, and it is like a lot of times I have to go chase them and be like, I see you actually published this on social media, so you got it, huh? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you. And I'm like, oh, so that's such a good note for all of you grant writers out there, like your freelancers, follow up with previous clients, right? See if
Definitely they're
that's
your
helpful.
best resource for return income because if you win them a grant,
Yeah.
they want you to write them another grant. And
Yep.
if you don't win them a grant, like I have one that was really big that we did not get. And then the federal grants, they're offering a boot camp. So I said, well, I'll take this boot camp and we'll rewrite it and try it for this year. And they just, they didn't fund anything that my client was trying for. It was like the EV stations are the big thing
Yeah.
right now. And we were writing for a CNG natural gas station, and they didn't fund any natural gas in the state of New Mexico. So I was
Mm.
like, that's cool. We'll take the boot camp and we'll see where we missed the mark and we'll redo it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, because none of us can guarantee 100% funding. Like we can't. Like there's going to be denials. There will be. And sometimes what I found too is I've had actually a handful of grants that have been denied, but then get approved later.
Mhm.
So if they come back and the funding source is like, yeah, actually we were able to find some more money and we still want to fund it. So that does happen too. Like a no doesn't really mean a no always, or it might mean a no this round, but we got our eye on you and we want to see if you're going to submit again,
Yeah,
right?
and no may just mean they ran out of money.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
doesn't mean that your grant was bad. Like sometimes they just run out of money.
yeah,
And then if somebody doesn't accept their award or can't accept their award, you might be the next one on the list.
yep,
So,
yep,
we've
yeah.
definitely seen that too, where a year later they're like, oh, well, this city, I saw it the other day, like by February, I can't remember what day, the capital outlay has to be spent. And they said, well, this town hasn't spent like $67 million.
Oh man.
I was like, oh, I need to call them.
Yeah. I'll take some. Yeah.
You.
No, and it's true. And it's true because they do still want to expend it. Like sometimes
Yeah.
the amount that they can get next year is, kind of incumbent of if they spend that much this year, right? So it's actually good for them to spend the money, but spending
Spend it.
money can be hard sometimes for counties, especially cities, all of that, right?
They get real scared because they have to keep a certain amount of money in their reserves, but I don't know, some of that, like some of the COVID money is still just lingering out there waiting to be spent.
Yeah.
And these cities are not spending them. So, but so if
Do you
they
also
do
help with
need
that a
them,
little bit?
mhm,
Do you help with that a little bit with helping with grant management?
I
Yeah.
do. Well, and it depends on the client and on the grant. Excuse me. Um, Sometimes they'll say like, I don't have time
Mhm.
to follow this grant. Like we just wrote one and it didn't really win money, but it won reports, which are as good as gold to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thriving Communities grant. And they said, I don't have time to like take the classes or to follow up to make sure that we have the letters of support or we have this. And I said, oh, I can do that. No problem.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just need to amend the contract a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then I need to add a little bit to that, or like even like, oh, you have to go to required like TA training, right? Or a webinar. Like there's a lot of things like, right, that nonprofits may not have time for. And that's where we can, as freelance grant writers, step in and say, oh, I can do that. I got you. Right.
And then
So
they're not having to reinvent the wheel. So sometimes, and then I can say, if you want me to, with the software, we can just remind you of your deadlines well in advance. Make sure, if we need to write the letter for you or write the report for you, just send us your figures and we'll write the report. And
oh, I love that. Yeah. So you guys listening out there, Gwen can also do grant management. A lot of you just your ears perked up and you said, oh, I'm calling her. So we're gonna have all of her details in the show notes, y'all. So, and another thing I wanted to talk about, because you had this very interesting situation that we were like brainstorming on and working on in the academy. And that was you are working, one of your clients is a 501c12. Right? So very different. So you want to kind of like shed some light on what some of the struggles and how you kind of overcame some of those struggles with that client.
yeah, like I had said on my website that I would work with nonprofits, and I didn't realize all the different types of nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always just worked with 501c12 or 501c3s.
Yeah.
And so they came with the 12 and I was like, well, they're a nonprofit. I'm sure I can find. And I told them that I hadn't worked with this 501c12 before. So they were real clear. And we signed for a 3-month contract to see what we could do. And the first month, the state of New Mexico has some laws that are not in other states. Most other states will allow for a 501c12 to apply for state grants. And in New Mexico, they don't. And so I took the information, like I've looked at all these grants. I've like gone backwards and forwards trying to find money in the federal realm and the state realm, and they just didn't qualify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we talked and I was completely ready for my client to say like, okay, we're done and we're going to like end the contract, right? Because it's only been a month and they signed for 3 months. And I was ready for that. And I went into our meeting and I just said, this is what I found. I laid all my cards out for them. And I said, we've called the legislation.
Yeah. You went down the rabbit hole. Like,
legislation was in all through January, so we called the representatives, we emailed all the representatives, followed up with phone calls. I called the representatives that I knew personally because there was amendment that was passed that would let them apply for the state grants, but the legislation never pushed it into law.
oh,
It was
so
really tricky, and
frustrating.
I was like, surely, like, it just seems like it's been looked over. Like,
Mhm.
like this little line item didn't get worked on. And again, it didn't get passed this time either. So
Oof.
now we're talking to them about maybe changing because in the state of New Mexico, a mutual domestic water association can apply for state funds.
Mhm.
So if they do just make that switch from a 501c12 is like ditch and irrigation, but
Mhm.
they really are supplying like a very large community with water and
Mm.
water and wastewater. And so their board is considering it. They don't really want to, but they're considering it. And then we'll see where they go. But in the meantime, we're going to do some different type of lobbying and writing some letters and trying to find other 501c12s
Mhm.
that may have the same concerns. So it kind of shifted a little bit from grant writing to more like digging deeper into like another way to help them
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah, and I love that you were able to be like, oh, okay, I can still and that all the work you did, just even in finding that out, so valuable. They don't have the time to go down the rabbit hole to find out that, right? You know, and even if you did say, well, I was going to help, my thought was to find grant funding solutions, but this is what I found, really good information. Still, you know, to charge for that, right? So that's really good for them because now they have more data moving forward and they can figure out their strategic plan. Is it to change? Is it to still go down this rabbit hole and to try to make it work, right? So that's well worth the money to pay a consultant to do, like well worth it.
And they felt like that too. They absolutely felt like everything I gave them was completely worth value of what I was charging them. They didn't, like I said, I expected them to say, let's cancel the contract. And he was like, nope, for our next 2 months, like this month, let's plan on. And
Mhm.
we made a whole new to-do list to plan. And
Mhm.
so I was like, awesome. Like, this is great because I really felt validated
Mhm.
that my work is valuable and I didn't let him down. I actually like gave him a lot of information to take back to his board and to be able to move forward with it with more insight into like New Mexico law than
Yeah.
he knew before.
Oh, yeah. And this is so good for anyone who's listening out there who works with, especially like, even if it's a 501c3, but they're super niche, like you may have to go the political way because money circulates through politics a lot of times, like federal monies, state monies, all of those. And it is like, that's part of what you're getting paid for too, is to be the expert and to be willing to potentially go down those risks or say, I'm not taking a client like that, right? So those are kind of two different ways that you can look at it. But especially like even in Guam, we're a territory, sometimes we're eligible, sometimes we're not, sometimes we need to lobby. That is definitely something they want consultants to help with. Like, especially like you said, if they're working at a state department and they already wearing 3 hats, like they don't have the time to do that, but it's going to look good on their watch.
Right.
And they
Yeah,
can go under their department that helps get it pushed from the consultant doing it, right? So
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's an interesting way, very unique situation, but it's, I think a lot of people will say, oh, I am a consultant. That does make sense. Sometimes I am researching grants, but the research rabbit hole can go a little deeper sometimes with certain nonprofits. And you just need to know that, and you're still doing work, even if you said, I can, you know, we usually find 10 to 12 grants, but for this one, man, we only found 5 to 7 because this is what we found out. That don't like devalue yourself and finding less grants if it's more complicated, but you still found out information, right?
Yes,
Definitely. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
Like, and the bottom line is the client is still super happy with
yeah.
what I provided because I was able to show him like all the things I did research because I keep a detailed log.
Mhm.
And so I was able to show him every rabbit hole I went down to say like, and this was a dead end and I called this person and I called your state representative. I've called my state representative.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I know like, a couple of them I know personally. So this month I'm going to call them and say like, this is the situation. Like, can you give me insight to
Yeah.
it? And maybe I can get some more information that, if it's just dead in the water, great. Then we
Yeah.
know we need to move forward. If it's an oversight, great. Then we can wait till next year.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And a lot of times that is like freelance grant writers, we build relationships with funding sources, with decision makers, right? That is a part of our value too. So it's
Mhm.
not only your time versus money, it's what you bring to the table, and what your time can do is take the time to develop those types of relationships, right? So I think that's so important too for us to remember, right? Especially when we're putting our proposals and our pricing out, is it's not just like, well, how much time does this take you? But is your rates, do they like entail all of this consultation and thought work, right? It's
Right.
very strategic thinking. Freelance grant writers are actually very strategic thinkers, because a grant is a puzzle and it can kind of like morph into this, right? So we bring that without being in the day-to-day of being a staff member of the grind, so we can actually get to a place where we're thinking strategically, because we're not in the mud. You know what I mean? Of like this meeting, that, whatever, all the, I don't know, nonprofit office politics. We're out of that. So we
Right.
can just focus on what the problem is, right? So I love that you're bringing so high level consultation into your business. I think that's really, really awesome. So
Yeah.
yay. Yeah.
As you get more and more experience writing grants, you learn some of that stuff that may take a new grant writer a longer time to figure out.
Mhm.
You're just like, you can remember it. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I've been down this road. I know what's going to happen here. And so you actually save the client more money because you can do things so much quicker.
Oh
And
yeah.
with systems in place, you can do things so much quicker, which is why I love the Academy so much, is because you set up so many systems for us that we can just follow, and it just makes everything, I don't have to think about anything at all.
I
Like,
love
I just
it.
follow your system and I'm good to go.
I love it. Yeah, so let's talk about this. So yeah, so now that you've joined the academy, you've been in for about 6 months, I believe, maybe a little bit less than that actually. So, and you've already secured, you said 4 clients and $65,250. I was like, yes, you made your $2,500 back quick
Oh yeah.
by joining.
That's why
Yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, one client, I made all my money back. Like, it's
yeah,
so simple. Like,
yeah,
and I'm just shocked by the value. Like I was telling you earlier, like it just really surprises me for, and I know $2,500 is a lot of money, but like not for the value I'm getting from the class, not at all. Like I would expect to pay that almost monthly for the value I get out of your class with all the templates, all the community interaction, like, and like valuable community action reaction, like not just like, oh, yay for you, but it's like real true feedback from peers
mhm,
versus like just, you're amazing kind of thing. Um, and I told you, like, the fact that you review people's grants
yeah,
cracked me up. I was like, no way that she's gonna take the time to review my grant. Like,
yep,
why? Like, that's a lot of work. Reviewing grants is a lot of work.
it
And
is.
so
Yeah.
I was like, and not just one time. Like, I figured maybe like one time you would say, like, here's the path and this is how you need to do it. But no, you're like unlimited grant, like reviews on whatever federal, state, foundational, whatever. Oh my gosh. I was just shocked by that because I feel like that's like hiring an assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's,
honestly,
yep.
like having a fresh pair of eyes on a grant that you've been working on for, 100 hours is gold, like
Yeah.
absolute gold, because you get so pigeonholed into your own ideas. To get fresh eyes on something, I feel like that in itself pays for the course.
Oh yeah,
Easy.
just even one grant review. Like that's what we charge to
Right.
the public. If we're just gonna review one grant is 2,500. So
Right.
we give unlimited for 2,500 for the year. And you
Right.
get all the other things. So it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's how we feel. But that's because we are like, we're supporting you. Like we're building and we have systems in place where we can handle capacity. Right. So that's the other thing too, is like to understand how to do that. It took a while to develop, but we finally figured it out. Right. So but I love that too, because even as an experienced grant writer, like I said, you already secured 7.9 million, just like 5 months. Like you still had submitted a grant for me to review. And it, like you said, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, it's still good to have fresh eyes. Like for
Well, because
all
the reviewer has fresh eyes. The reviewer is not making the assumptions that maybe you made when you were writing your grant, like something you just didn't explain. Like maybe you put an acronym that they don't know what that means. And when you caught that for me, I was like, oh my gosh. Because in one version of this grant, I did write it all out. The one I
Yep.
submitted to you, I didn't. And so I
Yep.
was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I write that out? Like you always write that out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I just felt like it was like those little mistakes that you caught that like a grant reviewer is going to be like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not funding this.
Yeah. Yeah. Just little things, right? And that's the thing is just to have, like you said, that set of eyes, just even if you said, okay, I know it, I'm in it, I've been talking to the nonprofit about this, we've both been talking about this for so long that it's just it's second nature, but that reviewer isn't going to have that context, right? So that's like me. I just come in and go, I have no context for this. I just see the FOA or the RFP and your application, and then I review it. So
Right.
just like a grant reviewer for real, who's going to score your application will do. So having that, yeah, is so good. I'm so glad that you utilized that, and you utilized our business review for your website, which after 2 days of being live, you booked your client on your website, which is amazing. So I love that.
But that was unexpected and super fun because it pushed me in something. I was like, oh, I'll just put it out there, I'll launch it, but nobody's going to really see it, until I start marketing it. And then boom, I got a client. I got, the little Calendly. You told me that was one of the edits you told me for my website was like, don't have an email, like don't let them sign up for emails, but just have them go right to booking a consultation call. And I was like, oh, that's super smart. So I bought Calendly and I had never used it before, set it up, and boom, like the next day I
I
had
love it.
somebody on there. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of people out there looking for me.
There are, and I love that. Yeah, this and Calendly is pretty simple, right? How was it in the back
That's
end?
very
Pretty simple. Yeah, set it up, boom, and then you got a call. And it could have been like if you just had your email, they might have emailed you, but then it could have been a back and forth waste of your time, right? So this got right to the point, like boom, they booked a call. Okay.
And that was
Yeah.
too, you told me on that to make sure that I put all my questions in the Calendly. And I hadn't thought about that either. And so it's real simple for me to say, well, on this intake form, you said you have your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, your strategic plan. And I was like, those, I need those, send them to me now.
Yeah.
And that made it really simple to onboard a client.
I
And you
love
also have the onboarding support in the back and the Q&As for nonprofit. Like the academy has been just like you're holding my hand in my living room, like saying, okay, Gwen, here's the next thing you need to do.
Love it. I love it. So yeah, so we're already on your goal for this year. You've already been able to basically get to where you were last year within just several months of like, and really you just said you just released and started marketing a little bit more in January. So it's only been about a month. So you've been able to onboard more clients in the last month, right? So now that you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting more confident, pushing,
As
now I know my process. Yeah, how's that going?
it's really good because I just like before I just felt like I was just constantly working all the time. And
Mhm.
so when I started in October, I hadn't thought about building a website before, so I built out the website, and that takes a little effort. And then I had you review it, made the modifications. So, and then we hit Christmas and forget it, like nothing happens at Christmas. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to actually make it live on January 1st. So I feel like official. And then I've gotten 4 clients in 1 month just from the critiques you made and
Wow.
how you just made it easy for them to become clients. Like
Yeah.
I had it made, it was a little bit harder for them to become a client
Yeah.
because your review, you were able to say like, I don't understand what I'm getting. Or, as a person who's shopping for a grant writer, the easier you make it to say like, this is what you're going to get, and this is how much it's going to cost, and here's where you sign up.
Mhm. Yep. That's
Really
what they
simple, but because you think when you're making, you're like, oh, I don't want to sell, I don't want to be pushy. And it's like, I'm not pushy. If you want my
want.
services, here they are. And I just had a referral from my daughter from her gym,
Mhm.
and he sent me this long text. I mean, like the paragraph text about all the
Oh,
questions.
yeah.
And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, here's my website." And I was able to send him to the website. And then, and an hour later, he was like, "All my questions are answered." I was like, "Yay," because I did not want to text that much.
no, that's such a time suck. Because you're going to have that as freelance grant writers, y'all. You're going to get the kind of pick your brain. Here's some questions, da da da. The cleaner you can make a website or a landing page or just something simple, and then ask them questions that they have to answer. So they're like leading questions. Then you're going to get the information that you actually need to know which of your services that they should get. Right. And that's as simple as it can be. And it's simple for them. Then they're not like, I'm overwhelmed with all these decisions. And it's simple for you, and then you can get away from that, because that's gonna happen. You're gonna get texts from people that are like, scrolling for days.
Right.
Or whatever, or you can just go to my website. Go
Yep.
to my
Just go to the website and all the answers are there because you map it out in the academy. Like, these are the questions people are going to ask. So these are the answers. Like, you need
Yep.
to answer these questions and think about what your answers are. And then here's the questions. So
Love.
it's just so simple to go through each of the modules. And I don't know, it has been really easier than anything else I've ever done.
Yay! I love that so much. I love how it's so all the systems are there for you and the support. Like you said, we're getting the feedback. There's this Slack channel for the community. So whenever you're like, oh, I have a question I need to ask real quick, like I love it seeing people pop in, and then the community is also giving input. So really good to hear from peers. So I love all the progress you're getting in there. I'm so excited that it has made your life easier as well, and just like you're like more clear in your mind on what you're doing and saving you time, so you can actually open this business that's bringing in this income, but it's actually a streamlined business to a large part, right? So that's
These
exciting.
clients, they're so simple to work with because they have their documents in place, or if they don't, I can say like, okay, well, we can create a package if you're kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like, maybe you don't have all your documents, but you have a bunch of them, then I can streamline something else for you to, like, make a custom package. But it just makes it real clear to them, like, this is how much it's going to cost. This is what I'm going to give you. And that's that. And it's either works for them or it doesn't. And it's fine, like, either way. And it's so they don't waste my time, but more importantly, I don't waste their time and then give them a big price at the bottom and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't afford that." Like, they
Yeah,
know going before they ever talk to me, they know what they're getting into. And
yeah.
I feel like that's really important. For me, that's important. Is like, I don't like, when you rent a car and they're like, "Oh, do you need bumper to bumper coverage? And do you need this? And do you need that?" And I don't like that. I just like things
No.
to be real straightforward.
I love that. Yeah, and then you're gonna have higher converting calls. They're not gonna be people that just want to pick your brain for free. They already know all your policies up front. They know what you do, and they already know what they're getting into. You're like, okay. So it's basically saying, okay, are we a good fit? Are we ready to go? Right? So
That's really all it is meeting to say, like, do we, can we work together now?
yeah.
And almost always it's yes,
Mhm.
like, working with people is easy. So, and
Yeah.
usually when they're looking for a grant writer, they're pretty easy to work with too.
I love that. I love that so much. So thank you for coming on the podcast today, sharing a bit about just the back end of like, yeah, niche clients, how difficult that can be, but you're still a value as a freelancer, and some of your takeaways from the Freelance Grant Writer Academy and how it's really helped you get that 65,250 so far this year, plus 7.9 million in grants. Like, amazing. So anything else you want to add before we close out today about the Academy and your experience in it? And somebody's thinking about joining, like, what would you recommend? What's like a highlight for you?
I would say if anybody's thinking about joining, they should just do it, like, pull the trigger, because I I joined the academy expecting, like, to be able to read, go through the modules, like every other type of training that you get out there is like, you know, you I don't know what platforms they all are on, but it's like next lesson, and you see a video, and
Mhm.
I really figured that's what it would be. And I was totally fine with that for the $2,500. I thought that was fabulous value right there.
Mhm.
but to be with the community that has that much experience, that can really be your soundboard, and then you're in it, like, I didn't really expect you to be answering all my questions. I expected the community, like a typical community Facebook page, but because it's on Slack, I was like, well, I just figured I would get answers from other people, but not you. And
Mm,
every time you answer my questions, I get other answers too, but you answer my questions. So I was really surprised at how much you're involved. And
mhm.
that's really great. And then the just all the templates of just making things so simple. The systems are already there and you just have to kind of tweak them to yourself, but really you could just use them the way they are.
Mhm.
Um, I love that. And the review on the website, the review on the grants, like people don't understand how much value that alone is.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I would be expecting to pay way more than I'm paying. And I was not expecting this much value in this academy at all. So I am so shocked and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Oh, I love that so much. And I'm so glad you're in it because you add value too. Because you're also like commenting on other people or at the calls. You know what I mean? Like it's so good to have that camaraderie and to have everybody has unique experience in there, right? Some people have
Yeah.
foundation grant writing, some people have freelance grant writing, some people are totally new to grants, some people have other types of consultation. So just to see that and to see your value and your input as well has been great. So yeah, I love it so much. I'm so glad that you are just doing so well in the academy and that you love it. So yeah, that's what we developed it for, to help you all create more peace in your business. Yeah.
I tell my family, like, yeah, I'm writing grants. They're like, oh, that's nice. Like
No.
they don't really understand at all. But if you're in the community, you're like, oh my gosh, this grant is like driving me insane. Like I need help. And everybody's like, oh, I feel you. And they feel it. They know exactly what you're going through. And so it's really nice to have those people that actually know how hard writing a grant can be and how invested you are in the outcome and how much of your soul you put into it to really, make the best grant for these people. And the people in the academy, they know that. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love it. Yeah, and even when you were asking about your 501 C12, and you could go in there and you could ask, and I was seeing a lot of that conversation and a lot of people were adding like, well, maybe have you looked here? Have you looked here? You know what I mean? Like trying to also support you, like, well, maybe think about this. So, it's also like you're having other experts that might have gone down a similar path to give you that advice. So that's not what you're going to get from your husband or your spouse or your parents or anything. Like, they're just going to be like,
Oh,
oh, that sounds complicated while they tune out.
blank look from them. That's like, okay, you
Right.
you use the computer.
Yeah. Google. So I love that so much. So thank you so much, Gwen, for coming on. And where can people find you? They're like, I
I'm
want
at nmgrantwriters.com is my website.
awesome. So yeah, go there. You guys will find out more about how she does things. And if you're in New Mexico and you're a nonprofit or a county, you're definitely going to want to check out what Gwen does. And check out her website because it has the New Mexico colors we were talking about. So it's like so New Mexico. I love it. I love it. So, and we'll have all of your contacts in the show notes as well. So you guys can definitely check out that. So I'll
Awesome.
see you back in the academy, Gwen. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Thanks. Probably later tonight.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.